Welcome back to You Didn't Know? Episode 22 with me, Casio Kid, and D-O-double-G, Road Dogg himself. We are rocking and rolling. And look, if you heard us last week, you know Brian James, Road Dogg, turned the reins over to me, Casio Kid. Ryan Katz, Smiley, went back to WWE. He can't do it, so he turned it over to me. And he promised this will not be a Bruce Pritchard situation. He's going to do it. He's going to do the podcast, and we're going to do it. But for this week, he's stuck in the office, as you can imagine. So we're going to do a best of episode. We're going to do best of clips from the past. So you'll see a lot of Road Dogg, a lot of Smiley, our boy Ryan Katz, and enjoy, okay? And enjoy. Man, in the meantime, subscribe, like, comment, whatever you want to do. Enjoy our best of this week. We'll be back rocking and rolling next week.
This is going to be a tricky question, so I'm looking forward to see how you go about answering this one. What's something you think Hunter will change that he should leave alone?
Wow, that is a tricky question, and I don't know. Do you have something in mind?
No, I don't. I'm just wondering if you know him even better than me. I mean, you've worked with him, you've been friends with him, you're close.
So look, to be quite honest with you, I saw. I was very impressed with Bobby Lashley beating Ciampa last night because I wondered if he wasn't gonna, put the title on Ciampa because Ciampa's his guy or whatever, and I was proud that he didn't do that. He left the United States champion on Bobby Lashley and our championship on Bobby Lashley, and I think that's where it should stay right now. I think that he's smart enough to know putting Ciampa on TV in that caliber of match with the stakes of the United States championship on the line. That's a huge victory for Ciampa. You know what I mean? Even through the loss, and so
and then giving him the homage to Harley Race.
Yeah, that was looking. It made you immediately go, "Oh my God, I love Ciampa." You know what I mean? Because now Harley Race is tied to him, and I loved Harley. Harley was a great champion. Man, what a cool moment! And then still didn't put him over. And so when I was watching and I saw he had that title match, and then I saw the Harley Race stuff, I thought, oh,
they're going to do it.
They're going to put him over. And I just thought that was the wrong decision. Look, he proved me wrong right then. I thought, okay, good. He made a sound business decision, and it was right for everybody.
The match was terrific, but it did absolutely add that extra element of suspense and anticipation for the finish.
That was what they were shooting for, right? That they were shooting for. We're going to see a title change hands tonight, and that's what I was thinking. And I was happy that I was wrong, but I thought that going in. So mission accomplished on them, right?
We've been talking a lot about Vince and H and changes in philosophies and all of that, but let's play fantasy corporate booking for a second. Let's pretend H calls you up and puts you into some sort of executive producer role on Raw or SmackDown, maybe even an NXT. What's the first thing you would change if you had control of making a change?
We'd probably, it would probably be funnier than it would be good. But look, I don't think I'd change anything. I think wrestling is wrestling, and you do things that are creative, and you try to do things differently. But 9 times out of 10, you've seen it before, and so if anything, I think it would just be maybe the dress code.
Staying a little bit more casual.
A little more cash.
I think it was funny for the road of NXT that all the talent and the producers as well loved that they did not have to travel in a suit, and the NXT uniform was tracksuit, which then would bother so many producers and talent when NXT would show up at pay-per-views in tracksuits in the NXT brand and not in the WWE look.
Look, I think they should have uniforms. You know what I mean? Like you see the and maybe it's sponsored by Nike, maybe it's sponsored by Adidas, maybe it's sponsored by Reebok, New Balance, whatever, but it's WWE tracksuits. And you know when the WWE's in town, here they come in their tracksuits, and they don't have to be, look, the NXT ones weren't glaring and said NXT. They were tap out and they had an NXT on the sleeve or something, and so everybody looked really uniform and cool. That's my military background coming out, but I would love that. I would love it, and I'm sure talent would too. You know, rather than showing up in a suit and so forth.
With NXT's demo skewing older, maybe they could get like an Ortho Feet sponsorship or something for like an orthopedic shoe and some leisure wear kind of stuff.
Yeah, the Greg Norman collection.
So I don't generally quote the Observer too much, but I'm curious on this one from the April 29th, 2013 Observer. SmackDown opened in Glasgow. Main event saw Sheamus and Billy Gunn and Road Dogg beat the Shield via DQ. Really telling not only that the Outlaws, who weren't even main eventers very often in their primes, and a dozen years after come back and headline now. The finish saw a DQ when they triple-teamed Sheamus. They were about to give Sheamus the triple-team powerbomb when the Outlaws jumped into the ring with chairs. Gunn gave Rollins a famouser, Sheamus gave him a brogue kick, and the Shield left. Are you surprised you're in the main event, or do you take what Metlzer is saying as an insult to the crew at the time?
No, I think it was more to his take has been, and I don't know if me and him ever had a run-in or if what, but his take has always seemed to be negative towards us a little bit. And look, maybe it is because we were old guys coming back and working with new guys and beating them and stuff, and maybe he's not happy about that. And that's okay. Opinions, they're like a-holes. Everybody's got them and they all stink. But he just, everything you read out of the Observer just seems to have a negative slant. And so it seems like it's somebody in there don't like me and Billy, or they don't like the fact that we're on there stealing spotlight where younger guys should. And that's a valid point. You know what I mean? If that's your point. But yeah, it just feels like they're always burying us. 'Cause we were main eventers. You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of dumbfounded me when I read that in the notes that he said like they were more than main eventers back then. Like, okay, Uncle Dave.
Who was your favorite wrestler growing up besides your dad?
In my youth was Mr. Wrestling #2. He was huge in Atlanta, and I mean, like one of the top baby faces, and just super push, and never, you never saw him without his mask. Yeah. And even later in life, he came and worked the Continental area a little bit, and he'd go in the shower with that mask on. I mean, he protected the gimmick. He protected it big time. But as I got older, Ric Flair. So look, Ric Flair, please let me tell this story.
Yep.
Do you have a minute
Yeah,
where I can tell this story? So this was, I just moved down here and I was 21, I think, and just able to get in the bar at the time. And
down where, Scott?
Oh, I'm sorry, Pensacola. Yeah, the Southeastern Territory.
Redneck
and so
Riviera.
Yes. And back in those days, each wrestling territory would get the world champion for a week. And so it was Flair's week to be in Pensacola. And he was working against my dad every night in the main event. And they were going, 50 minutes or 55 minutes or whatever. And so I go to the show. I watch them do that, and my dad goes, "Hey, Flair doesn't have a car, so I want you to go take him out wherever he wants to go, and just don't let him go to jail." And I started going, "No, Dad, hey, that's not me. No, I don't want anything to do with it," because I'd heard all the stories about Flair, and at this time, Flair's probably in his 30s. I mean, and already the world champion. I mean, so anyway, I watched their match. 50 minutes. I mean, long match. I take him back to his hotel. He said, "Hey, yeah, can you give me like, 45 minutes or so?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So, I go sit in the car. I come back and he opens the door and he's in his boxers his Sunday go to meeting shoes with his black socks on. And he's got, back then, a hotel room had old wooden chairs, like a block chair.
Yep.
And he had it up against the wall in his hotel room, and he was doing step ups. And he just opened the door and went right back to doing step ups. And he said, "Hey, put whatever you want on the TV. Just give me a few more minutes." And he starts doing these step ups. Well, he did them forever. And I said, "Well, Rick, how many do you do?" And he said, "Well, I do 10 sets of 100. And I went, "Well, you traveled all day and you just went 50 minutes at least with my dad. Why do you?" And he said, "Well, 60-Minute Man, Space Mountain." He said, "You got to live the gimmick, right?" And I said, "Yes, sir, you do." That moment in time is etched in my mind because he was at the top of his game in his 30s, top of his game, and stayed there for a long time. But without even saying a word to me, he showed me what it took to stay at the top of your game. And man, the respect I have for that dude, his work ethic, in his prime, second to none. Of course, after that, he got dressed and we proceeded to go to a bar and where he literally said, and I'm not kidding, he said, we walk in the door and everybody, it's midnight now, and everybody in there turns and sees, oh my God, it's Ric Flair.
It's Nature Boy Ric Flair.
And he literally says, "Barkeep, make me a pitcher of kamikazes." And the kid goes, "Well, Mr. Flair, I don't know how to make a pitcher of kamikazes. So, well, do you know how to make a kamikaze?" And he said, "Well, yes, sir." He said, "Well, then make one and make them go all the way down the bar and hand me a pitcher." To this minute, it is the most alcohol I've seen on one bar in my life. And I mean, just 50 glasses. And Flair just took the pitcher and he just went boom, boom, all the way down. Now the entire bar is watching, no doubt about it. He just turned around with that pitcher and said, "Ladies," and here they came. And I won't say how that night ended.
It's good to be the king.
I remember the beginning of the night for sure.
It might not have needed Blue Chews, but if it did, you can get them with code DOGG.
That's DOGG. Code DOGG.
We're back. And let's get to some fan questions. We just got a few right now. Yeah, let's do a couple.
Let's do it, man.
Zach Like wants to know, on average, how many times a day would Jim Cornette cuss? It's a fun question.
Oh my Lord, how many times did he speak? You know what I mean? Like look, Jim cusses. I cuss as well. I try not to on here and try not to in front of my children and grandchildren, but some of the times a curse word slips out. Jim doesn't try so hard to hold it back. Jim lets it go, and Jim is Jim, and Jim had some iconic, outrageous meltdowns that I saw. That happened a lot. But look, he wanted stuff done. He wanted it done his way, and when it wasn't done his way or done successfully, he let people know about it. Different people have different leadership styles. That was his. But he also didn't yell at everybody like that. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't talk to everybody that way. But he would talk aggressively to you if he was mad enough. You know what I mean? But look, that's Jim, and that's Jim. You have people in your family that oh, that's crazy Uncle Carl. Like, he talks to himself. Just don't go over there. Yes, he peed his pants. Just don't walk over there. And that's what you do. You just stay away from crazy Uncle Carl. And that's not how I'm comparing Jim Cornette, but that's Jim. If you don't do what's right, you don't do it the best of your ability, he will let you hear about it. And yes, there will be some cuss words in there. And I saw that. I don't have as many hands or feet as I can count.
Mitchell Barnett is wondering, Road Dogg, in your personal opinion, what's SMW's legacy? We actually just asked that. What overall long-lasting impact, if any, did it have on the industry as a whole? And do you have any other great, hilarious Jim Cornette stories you can share? And then finally, in his question, do you do a Cornette impersonation? Do you got a Cornette?
I do not have a corny impersonation.
I'm surprised by that. Come on.
I'm serious. I don't. I never tried to because he's so unique. He's one in a million. Like I don't have any idea. I just got sidetracked by another email. These guys are killing me with these emails.
Just throws you off so much.
I
You're
know.
like,
How could I? And then it pops up on my screen right here too, and it's like, oh, and like somebody's mad.
Sorry, Mitchell, your question's ignored. We already
No.
lost track.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mitchell. What was his question again, Ryan?
There were 4 parts to that question.
Okay.
It was SMW's legacy.
Yeah, the
which
legacy.
We got
I don't
to.
know. Let's talk about the legacy for a second, because look, it was very regional.
Right.
So I don't know what, and I'm sure Jim would have
the
a better.
legacy is the talent that it then produced.
That's how I look. I see it as a last man standing thing. Like I see Jim as the last territory standing. You know what I mean? And Smoky Mountain. I don't know what that says, but it's got to say something, right? And so I don't know what it does for the industry, because it wasn't a global thing until here lately, and people talk about it a lot. Wrestling fans like Smoky Mountain. I just don't know what they would say the legacy would be. And like I started to say earlier, Jim has probably thought about this and has a well thought out answer that could probably sell me, and I would go, yes, that. But I was so young in the industry, I never thought of it like that. So this is a first time deal. Yeah, I think the cast of characters that it kind of spit out. Kane, you know what I mean? Al Snow and Head and
New Jack.
New Jack and Road Dogg to a lesser extent.
You know, sometimes I think Jim Cornette, as high strung as he is, might not sleep well. But here's the deal. Science tells us the best way to achieve and maintain consistent deep sleep is by lowering core body temperature. Temperature-controlled sleep repairs muscle after a hard day's work and improves cognitive function, so you can always start your day feeling sharp and alert. ChilliSleep. That makes customizable, climate-controlled sleep solutions and help you improve your entire well-being. I just want to brag a little bit. I have ChilliSleep. We have the double-sided ChilliSleep, so that way I can maintain one temperature. My wife can maintain another temperature. It's the Cube sleep system. We have the Uller ourselves. It's hydro-powered, temperature-controlled mattress toppers that fit over our existing mattress to provide our ideal sleep temperature. See, my wife, Big Booty Judy, she likes to sleep, Road Dogg, real hot. She wants it real hot. I want it as cold as possible. I'm fat. I got the old cinnamon roll on the waistband. I want it cool. And that's the beauty. The luxury mattress pad keeps our bed at the perfect temperature for each of us for deep sleep. Whether you sleep hot like my wife or cold like myself, ChilliSleep, they've got it going on. For an extra layer of comfort, they make the Chili blanket. Oh my gosh. This might be what I get my wife for Christmas. It's the only weighted blanket that can also be paired with a controlled boom unit for the ultimate sweat-free sleep. Oh my gosh. We love the ChilliSleep. I've got it. My wife got it. Literally, this is not exaggeration. It has changed our life for the better. ChilliSleep. If you want to get in on this, go to ChilliSleep.com/dog, DOGG. You can learn more and save 30% off the purchase of any new Cube or Uller sleep system, which is what I have. This offer is available exclusively for you didn't know with Road Dogg listeners, and only for a limited time. That's Chili, CHILI, sleep.com/DOGG. That way you can take advantage of our exclusive discount and wake up refreshed every day.
So at this time in the timeline, Vince Russo is there gaining a bigger voice in the creative process. What do you remember about Russo's role at this time?
So Russo was kind of new then, but we knew he was just the editor of the magazine at the time, and we all knew him because we'd been in the magazine and been taking pictures and everything. So we knew who he was, but he had just now kind of came into the creative scene. But he was always really nice to me and really professional. We only had one real dust up, and that was later, a lot later. Like I always got along with Vince, and he was the one we were going to pitch, please let us be a tag team. Let us be a tag team. And again, it's like, hey, change it and do this. Okay, well then what? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. That's my biggest pet peeve from working on the creative side of things is when a talent comes to you and goes, hey, I want to work with so and so. Okay, well, to figure out a story and get back to me, and we'll, maybe we can kick some ideas around. Yeah, I just want to win the title and then work with so and so. You go like, okay, then look, that's a strategy. That's a sound business strategy. We all want to win the title. We just all can't.
It was interesting in saying that. It was interesting for me in my position at WWE, learning and evolving on how talent should pitch stuff. Because
yeah,
a lot of times I have this character and they pitch this character, but then there's no laid out plan of how the character
yeah,
actually fits into the program or the show, like
yeah.
how the feud actually correlates to the content on TV. It's good idea, but it doesn't work with the current product. So how
Right.
do you actually incorporate?
Well, that's what a lot of the viewers don't understand is all the because look, everything has bureaucracy, right? And when I say bureaucracy, I just mean a process of going through some things and clearing some things and making sure things are okay. But if you just come to me and tell me, look, I'm going to wear this mask and I'm going to beat people up backstage, okay. You know what I mean? Like we get 2 weeks out of that, 3 weeks tops, maybe take a week off. Now what? You know what I mean? Like, don't just tell me you're going to do that. Where does it go? How are we going to get this character out in front of people and put you in positions to talk about that character in a way that makes me understand that character? And, because the more I understand it, the more I can become emotionally invested in it. If you're not emotionally invested and I mean emotionally invested in your baby face or your heel or whoever your guy is, man, he's not working. You know what I mean? If he doesn't have you emotionally invested, then we need to get him talking some more. And that's the big deal about promos too. Promos are huge nowadays because it lets people know what my motives are, am I the good Samaritan? You pass a school bus that's turned over and people will go around it and film it and all kind of crap, but some people will stop and run towards that school bus, and those are little good Samaritan actions that a babyface can do on a wrestling show without words too, that just show you in his actions, oh, he's a good guy. You know what I mean? And so you got to write them into scenarios where they get the opportunity to show or say that they're a good guy. I don't even know what we were talking about,
Yeah, no,
Ryan.
so we'll bring it back. Let's talk about relationship with creative. So we're talking about
Okay.
Russo coming in and you guys interacted, but there wasn't necessarily a friendship at that point.
Right.
Do you think having been in creative yourself and being on both sides, talent and creative, do you think it's important for talent to be friends with someone that's in creative to maybe help them get some opportunities?
So look, speaking professionally, um, and from a corporate vantage point, like it's a little frowned upon for the writers to be friends with the talent. Now, look, that happens a great deal because they work with some writers a lot, and so they have their favorite writers. I firmly believed at the time that if I made a name for myself, if I stood out on television, they would have no choice but to come to me and go, we want to do more with you. We want to do promos with you. We want to do this, And so I never for 1 minute thought about making friends with the guys so that they would put me on TV more. But I did think about making my TV time count and then kind of forcing their hand, like, okay, they're going to come to me now.
Which is the phrase undeniable that I always
Yeah,
use.
yeah,
Making
you
yourself
did.
so undeniable that
Yeah,
there is no choice but to go with you.
yeah, and that's the deal. That's it in a nutshell. And if you're waiting on me, the writer, to get you over, you're going to be waiting a minute, because the writer's a writer for a reason. He's not a performer. He's not a WWE superstar. He's not an AEW superstar. He's not a Ring of Honor superstar, New Japan super. He's just a writer who loves wrestling, just like me, just like you, you know? And so, but he can't do it for you. You got to go out there and carry the load, and he will steer the ship. You know what I mean? He'll make sure the story's being told correctly in your verbiage, in your promos and stuff. But it's up to you to get over, man. And then, like you said, it's you use that word a lot, Ryan. Undeniable. You use that a lot when talking to talent, and that's. Look, you got to stand out, get my attention. What are you going to do different? Because everybody can do a hip toss. Everybody can do a drop kick. Blah, blah, blah. Show me something. You know what I mean? And look, I get it. There's a different, you know, wrestling is, and I don't want to, you know, get too off track here, but wrestling is so subjective. Like, it's anybody, there's no wrong or right. There's no, you know, how my opinion is valid, just like your opinion is, but we're masters of our own destinies. There's no precedent in wrestling. Oh, you can't do that because of this. No, we can make up whatever we want to. We can do whatever we want to do.
And it's wild how those opinions work, and how extreme and drastic those opinions could be. Because if we survey 100 people, 50 people could say what they watched was the greatest thing they've ever seen, while the other 50 could say that was the worst thing I've ever seen. And how do you please the whole pie at that point?
Yeah. I mean, you look, you can't, and I found that out the hard way when I was writing SmackDown. You can't please everybody. But you can tell. I mean, look, I don't think checking the Nielsen ratings is a proper way to tell too. But if you know what's good and what's bad, you know what you like and what you don't like. When you get done with a show that you've written or performed on or whatever, you know, I don't need to go to Twitter to tell me I screwed up. I know I screwed up. I don't need to go to Twitter to find out, the guy didn't win that you people wanted to win. Yeah, that's part of the storyline. We're going somewhere with that.
Which always blows my mind a little bit, because obviously as a fan, I watch and I can get frustrated watching things too. But like, so many things, if I'm watching a regular sport, things don't go the way I want them to go. And I think fans get so mad that they don't go how they want them to go. It's like, well, that's kind of how the real world works.
Yeah, it's kind of part of the deal. It's by design. And it comes with the program. You know what I mean? Like, hopefully you'll tune in next week and see what the next beat of that story is, you know?
Let me go off on a tangent based on what you said. What's it like the first time you go over to another country and wrestle in a different style that you're like, whoa, this is not the same as I'm used to?
Yeah, it was eye-opening and eye-closing due to swelling a lot. So it was really cool. Like, I went to Memphis from when I was the roadie with Jeff, and we left in '95. I went to Memphis and I started wrestling, and look, Memphis and wrestling Doug Gilbert's one thing, and Tennessee Tiptoe and the old arm wringer, and all these things that are kind of comedy wrestling. So a little bit of that. And then I went to Germany, and man, it was a whole new ball of wax, where there was a little bit of tussling going on, and you can call a spot. It just might not happen, and so it was, like I said, eye opening, and I got beat up and battered a little bit until I learned, like, okay, that's how we're going to do it. I'm going to, if I'm getting beat up, I may as well do some of the beating my dang self.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it was eye opening to go to another place, and they started bringing it, and I thought, okay, well, here we go.
All right, keeping this moving in the right direction.
All right, today we're going to look back at an early part of your career and discuss Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Oh, I thought you were going before that, and I was going to say, man, look, I was young. Needed the money. You know the deal.
Sometimes you do.
Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
I'll be honest, I'm familiar with it, of knowing Smoky Mountain and the wrestlers that came out of it, but it wasn't my territory growing up, so It's not something that I actually watched a lot. So I'm excited, because today is going to be an education for me, and I'm excited about the schooling, and I think the fans will be excited. I'll probably be a little bit more quiet, let you just talk about a lot of these things.
Okay. But shut me down if or I'll probably ask you, what was I talking about?
Shut them down. When I say Smoky Mountain Wrestling, what's the first thing that immediately pops into your head?
Jim Cornette. Like it's the first thing I think of. It's the last thing I think of before I go to sleep at night, and it's the first thing I think of when I wake up in the morning. Jim Cornette.
Obviously, Smoky Mountain Wrestling is a promotion formed by James Jim Cornette. Cornette's been a controversial figure in wrestling the last few years with his opinions on the current product. What's your relationship like with Cornette today?
I think it's good. Look. Jim was always great to my family and was always great to me. And so I respect Jim. I think Jim has a ton of knowledge and a ton of like historic knowledge in his mind and probably at his house in tubs or something. But so we had one little thing where I said wins and losses don't matter, and the internet exploded, and it was kind of out of context. But what I meant was, if Dean Ambrose is my guy, if John Moxley's my guy, and John Moxley gets beat on TV one week, John Moxley's still my guy. So that was the context of why I said wins and losses don't matter. Like, I'm a Kevin Owens fan. Kevin, he ain't been on a roll of a winning streak lately, but he's great. He's great on the mic. Every time he comes out, I want to watch him. So that was the context in which I said that. I had to cover that just to get to here. Somebody interviewed Jim one time, and it was a guy who was, didn't like me anyway, and was kind of posed the question weird. But Jim was like, "Well, that doesn't sound like Bob's boy to me," or whatever. And he said something, but it was just Jim talking, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But this is the first time he's probably hearing it. It's the first time I'm just kind of saying it out loud, because I think it was my ego and my pride and stuff that got hurt, and that's superficial anyway. That's no good. So I don't look. We never had a riff. That when he talked, he just said that, and it rubbed me the wrong way. And so I thought but and look, I think Jim's controversial because he says what he means and he means what he says, and he's a very good talker. But you're going to get some 4-letter words and some 9-letter words and some, you know what I mean? He's going to be colorful in his language. And I think that's half the reason, you know what I mean? Like people used to say horrible things to each other, and it wasn't the end of the world. Like, I think only lately, like you said, in the last couple of years, he's become controversial because you're not allowed to say anything about anybody anymore. So I think...
where in theory, he was actually always a controversial figure, and even so, I'm thinking Attitude Era and other times where WWE even brought him back for, quote, controversial on-air
and
promos.
Remember, they would give him those...
shoot promos.
Yeah, shoot promos. And I thought, man, that's some of the best stuff I've ever seen. You know what I mean? And it's look, it's somebody talking trash, but it's somebody who's really good at it, and that's Jim Cornette, man. And like I said, he's got a great mind. Always treated my family well. All the love in the world for Jim Cornette.
The promotion's formed when Jim leaves WCW in 1991. Talk to me about how the wrestling business was much different back then.
Holy mackerel! Not just the wrestling business, the entire world. Definitely America. But 91, like I was in combat in 91, you know what I mean? Like I was 24 years old or 25 years old in 1991. My first son was born in 1991. That's so long ago, like everything's different. But man, wrestling was very different. And as we'll see on some of the promos tonight, like I cut a white meat babyface promo that's laughable. But back then, a good guy was a good guy and a bad guy was a bad guy, and there weren't so many tweeners, you know what I mean?
Right.
And also we'll get into the fan base of Smoky Mountain Wrestling in the future, which is also awesome.
A Southern-style promotion not named USWA had not been something that was successful after the expansion of the WWF and eventually JCP, Jim Crockett Promotions, turning into WCW. Did you think growing up in the business you would ever actually see the territories die?
So, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't understand what the territories were because I just watched my dad. You know what I mean? Whatever wrestling my father was on, that's the wrestling I watched. So I wasn't, and look, just because I grew up in the business, was my dad never, we weren't allowed to go around in the dressing room and stuff like that. I had no idea what was going on. I was terribly sad when all of my brothers got to break in Southeastern or Continental, and that was no longer there for me. However, that was my reality. I was coming into the business when all that was happening. And so did I have a match in 1989 and a couple in 1990 and you know what I mean? Yeah. So I was in the business then, but I wasn't a full-time professional wrestler / sports entertainer at this time. And even prior to that, I didn't know what went on behind the scenes. I just knew my dad was a wrestler and I wanted to do that too. And by the time I got in there and running full speed, the territories were gone, And do I wish they were here? Heck yeah, I'd love to work. And look, I got to work in Memphis for USWA. You mentioned their name. I got to work there. I got to work a lot of independent shows, but I would love to have gone to Oregon or, you know what I mean, and got to travel around and do 6-month deals when I was young. That would have been cool.
You talked about earlier the fan base. So Mick Foley in his book said Smoky Mountain was old-time fans who still believed in good guys and bad guys and to whom cheating was still reason to get upset. Is this an accurate statement?
It's right on. It's right on the money. And look, for me, when I wrestled in Canada and when I wrestled in Smoky Mountain, the fan base is very similar, and I'm not the only one who's kind of thought that before, but like Southern wrestling fans and Canadian wrestling fans remind me a lot of each other. They just like their wrestling, and they don't like to get caught up in it, and it's okay, and they don't have to explain themselves to anybody. But yeah, they had a strong fan base, and to Mick's point, they probably didn't believe that it was real, but they believed if you screwed their good guy or their baby face, they were going to get mad about it. And they were going to stand up and they're going to yell at you. And you know what I mean? And that's good old fashioned wrestling right there.
With definitive baby faces and heels before shades of gray, you take on Cornette in singles matches, getting the victory. Is this when you really started to learn how to gaga? We saw the baby bonnet match. Is this where you get your education in some comedy wrestling?
Well, look, I came up in the South with a lot of Southern wrestling, so I've seen my share of comedy wrestling. But this was my first foray into it, and it did what you call gaga, we kind of called Shakespeare, and it's just kind of working the people and getting the most out of every little thing you can. And so, yeah, this was my first foray into experiencing that. But like I said, I'd seen that a bunch growing up in my life.
What do you think the legacy of Smoky Mountain Wrestling is?
Man, I don't know. Look, I'd like to think it was something positive, and what a cast of characters you rattled off earlier. All those big talents that came through there. I think it's whether it closed or not, I think it was a successful territory in a time where territories were all dead. And I guess you could your description of, or your definition of successful is debatable, but I think it was. It tried to do something that was no longer being done, and that kind of had been squashed out, and that was the territories. And Cornette had a little money and had the guts and said, let's try to do this again and see if we can't make it work. And he made it work for a little while. It just wasn't sustainable because of the way the world was changing.
Any bad experiences while there?
No, I honestly didn't have any. Everything was gravy. And
any favorite memories we haven't talked about?
Let me think. Oh, look. So I was young, and you can imagine in that part of the world, we partied, and so I won't go into too much detail. But the Rock and Roll Express. Ricky Morton remembers a few things in Johnson City, Tennessee. There were some great times. But look, most of them were in the ring.
Does it rhyme with your friend Georgie?
No, but it does rhyme with Enos. No, I'm sorry. I don't know. Elvis the Pelvis had a brother named Enos. He did.
So explain the frustration from that moment to that night when you're home And then the next morning when you go, did I really just do that?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a wake up the next morning, like, okay, what now? So we were kind of in. I wasn't. Jeff was kind of in talks as to, okay, what are we going to do here? How are we going to salvage this? They obviously didn't answer anything, and in that period of time, Bill Watts came in for just a moment to like do. Like Jim Ross's old job or whatever, talent relations, and Bill was a no-nonsense guy. And he said, they walked out, screw them. We ain't bringing them back, blah, blah, blah. But so he was there for a while. We weren't going back while he was there. That's for sure. And that's right. Jeff was very professional. I was unprofessional. I just walked out on him for no reason and didn't say anything. Jeff had been talking with them for weeks about all this and kind of knew, hey, this is where I draw the line. So again, just a young rookie mistake, loyal to a fault, and look, I'm still really good friends with Jeff Jarrett, and he takes care of me, and he has taken care of me ever since. So I don't think that was a bad move. I don't think it was a mistake as far as my professional career goes at the time, but as far as like the friendship and the relationship that Jeff and I have now, I'd quit with him every day of the week.
Did you consult with your family at all that you were going to do this, or was this a shock to them?
No, yeah, it was a shock to them. My dad called me and told me I was a dumbass. And he was right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I was just young and dumb, man. And this is what we're doing. So let's do it. And that's as far as I thought about it too.
So what's the plan? Because you walk out, but technically you're still probably locked up under a contract, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure, until they sent me the release. They wired us both releases. So Jeff went to WCW. I started working in Memphis for Jeff's dad, and I started going overseas to Germany and doing a lot of so really starting to hone my craft and starting to learn what I'm supposed to be doing in there. And I did that in Memphis. So while it wasn't a great business decision, I kind of needed to do that. It was kind of the path I needed to take so I could learn, more about what I was doing in there, and again hone my craft a little bit.
You brought up the hot tub earlier in the show. Bruce Pritchard has told the story that Jerry Lawler flagged him down on the road after the show, and that Lawler had heard from Jerry Jarrett that you guys were all just drinking wine in the hot tub, and that you and Jeff were going to head to WCW. What do you know about all this?
That was the rumor. Well, look, that's exactly what happened. We went right to Jeff's dad's house and sat in that hot tub and got screwed up. Screwed up more than I already was probably, but that's just where we were at the time, man. Yeah, that's true. Jerry probably told King told everybody, and there we were. So but look, that's what we did. It wasn't like we were trying to hide it from anybody. We walked out on them.
You're booked almost immediately to return to Smoky Mountain Wrestling as Brian Armstrong. Do you reach out to Cornette, or does he reach out to you?
Yeah, but look, Dad and Scott and them were going back and forth, so it was kind of an easy deal. Like, hey, Brian's available. You want to go work for him? And that was kind of then we started doing the thing with the Smoky Mountain versus the USWA. It was almost like an invasion angle of East Tennessee versus West Tennessee, And it actually worked out really well, and I had a great time doing all that. I didn't get rich, but I paid the bills and learned how to do it and paid my dues a little bit. I loved working in Memphis, man. We had some great friends there. Got some great friends there still. Met my wife there. A lot of good things happened during that period of time. So had I not done that, my life would be very different, and I don't know in a good way.
So every time you start thinking about the regrets of what would have been if I didn't and where would have the career gone, your life took the trajectory and the path that was meant to be because things worked out real great for you.
Man.
In that situation, did you think that you would ever go back then, or was it? It was done?
Yeah, look, I kind of thought it was done because I thought, well, there's a bridge burnt, but I'll work for WCW then. You know what I mean? Like I just kind of thought, oh, well, I'll go down there, and that opportunity never came about. So I did exactly what I needed to do. I thought at the time I should leave with Jeff, so I did. It was a bad decision in retrospect, but heck, I guess we've all made those,
What do you think's the biggest misconception about you walking out?
I guess that I was unhappy creatively because we both walked, but I was on top of the world. And apparently, and this is what I've been told, that we were going to have a triple threat, me versus Jeff versus Shawn Michaels at the next pay-per-view for the Intercontinental title. And I quit instead of going and having that match. You know what I mean? Good Lord.
Lord,
you live and
indeed.
learn, man. You live and learn.
Anything else you want to get off your chest about that time and just let the people know are here?
Well, I mean, it was just, I was just having fun, living the rock and roll lifestyle, high on drugs all the time, in main events, just given to me, opportunities just given to me. I was entitled. I wasn't grateful. And so, I would just say, like, try to live in the moment and try to be thankful for the opportunities that are given to you every day if we look for them. And so I just had to kind of change my perspective. And that's what happened when I got sober, was like the glass is not half empty anymore. It's half full now. To change my perspective. How do I look at things? I don't look at things so negatively anymore. It's okay, everything's going to be okay. Even if it doesn't turn out perfect or how I want it to, everything's still going to be okay. And especially, this was wrestling. I learned a lesson about professionalism and how to conduct yourself as a WWE superstar, or you know what I mean? Like those were all lessons that I learned the hard way through this night. So yeah, I don't want to get anything off my chest, but I do want you guys to think about that. Think about being present in the moment, man, no matter what your job is, no matter what you're doing. Think about the things that you're thankful for, the things that are most important in your life, and just work. Whistle while you work, dog, and think about the blessings you have bestowed on you. So, Ryan, I feel like we need to wrap this up, B.
Yeah. I mean, with that, I think we got to go get a couple quick questions from the dog pound, from the fans in there.
All right.
Let's go to a couple quick questions, and we'll call it a day today. Chad GoMillion82 wants to know, did you ever feel after leaving, what the hell did I just do? Or is that not something at the time that crossed your mind? And then if you can go back, what might have you done differently, or would you have still left?
Yeah. Look, I think I would have probably still left, just because in my mind, as wrong as this was, staying with Jeff and leaving was the right thing to do. I know now that for me, professionally, that was not the right decision to make. But personally at the time, and I mean, I don't regret it, because like we just said, a lot of great things came to me because of the path I took. Now, what was the question exactly, Ryan? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Would you have done any changes? I think we covered that as we were talking. I think we made a few of these.
Chad GoMillion is my Orkin man, by the way.
Oh, a little pest control.
Little pest control. Yeah, and the crabs, he got rid of those too.
With the little
I'm just
Old
kidding.
Bay.
I use some shampoo for that.
You move on to Italy and working in Bologna and Trieste before moving on to Germany in front of 10,000 fans.
It's baloney, you moron.
Bologna has the first name. How hot was business in Europe at the time, man? We talk about the energy of the fan base. How good is business?
Yeah, business was good. Business is always good over there. It really is. Like they're not spoiled. They want to see it, and they come out and they pop for it. And so I don't know, man. They're just always a really good crowd internationally. And so business was booming.
Yeah, let's go to a clip from Germany and Mannheim where you're back with Sheamus in this one. And once again, the crowds are just super hot throughout. I mean, European crowd, UK crowd, all of those shows. I remember watching, I think it was Jason Jordan and Chad Gable, American Alpha versus Blake and Murphy for the NXT Tag Team Championships. And I think the crowd chanted for 14 straight minutes before they ever locked up. I mean, the endurance of the crowd.
Yeah, if nothing else, the stamina.
And then the creativity of the chants. I mean, you get hot crowds in America and you get awesome pops and energy and they're cheering and yelling and screaming. But in Europe and in the UK, we're talking songs and melody and just
lullabies and all kind of stuff. Yeah, they are very creative, and they will go. And look, that's, truth be told, there's nothing better than like a good raw over there when the crowd really gets riled up. because then you kind of find out, okay, who are they emotionally invested in? Who do they want to yell at and anger, or who do they want to support? And man, they don't mind doing it. And so, yeah, it's always fun. It's always a real, energy, that's, you know what I mean? You can feel that energy out there.
You finished the tour in Cologne, Germany with the same match, Sheamus against the Shield, and then it's the end of the run. Did you know?
Cologne, moron.
Man, I wrong, and I'm gonna this crit. Did you know that was gonna be it for the European tour? That was gonna be it, or well, where are we at in your mindset at this point?
So yeah, I was getting shots in my knees. It was like friggin' North Dallas 40 in the training room, minus the cocaine on this run. But look, I was feeling it for dang sure. Physically in my body, but mentally too. Um, so I kind of was like, okay, we good now? Can we? But we'll see what the future holds as we continue.
Absolutely. Knowing that the next Raw that's coming up the next day, I think might be that first monumental beginning of what became the Monday Night Raw after Mania. That's like the biggest show of the year on TV
Yeah.
in the Raw aspect, because that's when we really started seeing the defections and the changing tide of the Monday Night Wars. And let's get into Sean Waltman at that point, because it was right before Mania that he got his release from WCW. What was your relationship like with Sean during that time?
It was great. Look, I mentioned early on, I got 3 great friends. Uh, I should have said 4 and I thought about that on the drive home after the last podcast, because Sean Waltman's the other one. Me and Sean, it was like he's from Minnesota, I'm from Georgia. It was like we were, two peas in a pod, man. We got along from the minute we met. We get along that way today. I saw him at WrestleCon and hugged his neck. Man, it's always great to see him. We pick up right where we left off every time. He's that kind of friend. And so, yeah, I had a great relationship with him, and was really, because he was 1-2-3 Kid and I was the roadie. And we actually 2 year or maybe 3 years before that pay-per-view we just watched, me and him had a deal in Hartford, Connecticut, where we were on the outside for that Intercontinental title match between Jeff Jarrett and Razor Ramon. And so we got into it. And so, yeah, we've known each other forever. We worked at In Your House 95. Our relationship was great. And so we were excited to have him come in. And I think it was just the icing on the cake,
Before we get into that Raw and the big moment we're all waiting for, let's take another quick break, and we'll come back with the formation and creation of one of the most influential groups in the history of professional wrestling and the epitome of sports entertainment. We got some more questions coming from adfreeshows.com. This one coming from top guy Michael McLanahan, and he wants to know, in Road Dogg's opinion, how critical was Sean Waltman's post-WrestleMania debut to the rebranding of DX? And had Sean Waltman not been available, who would you have liked to have seen take Sean's spot in DX?
Man, that's a great question. Look, I do think Sean Waltman coming, perfect. It made it perfect. Hunter's the new leader. Here we are. And here's our new guy that we're adding. And it was not only did he jump ship, but here he comes out. So there's a pop already, because you know the guy, you love the guy. Then he was on the other show last week or 2 weeks ago, and now he's on our show. And it is the Monday after Mania. So yeah, I think him being here made a huge deal, and was the last final straw in the cementing of, holy crap, this new faction is going to be something else. As far as who I would have been in there, man, there's just nobody else. And I thought about this, and when I saw it, nobody else would have fit. I mean, that's just the truth. Like, it would have, Kiddo fit like a hand in a glove. You know what I mean? It was just meant to be. So I don't know. I don't think too much. Like, it would make me beg the question, who would you as a viewer like to see instead of X-Pac? Was there somebody there in WWE at the time? Was it somebody in WCW that could have jumped over? Like, because to me, it was, I don't know. I never thought about it being anybody else. It's Kiddo. Like, that's who it is. And that's the right answer.
Look, Sean Waltman leaving WCW was a risky proposition. You know what's not risky? CarShield. That's right. This episode is brought to you by CarShield, who makes it easy and affordable to protect our cars from expensive repairs. And that's just for starters. How about this? If you want to talk about rankings, CarShield is the #1 auto protection company in the U.S. and offers protection plans for around $100 a month. The plans cover more parts than ever before, whether your car has 5,000 miles or 150,000 miles. Like myself, they can take care of you. CarShield, buddy. You've heard Ryan Katz, our buddy Smiley. He talked about it. He wishes he had it a month before his car broke down. He broke down and paid over $2,500 in maintenance and repairs. But guess what? Ryan's loss is your game, because now we all know, boom, CarShield can pass the savings on to you. Let me tell you about how simple it is to get your car fixed with CarShield. If you need, and when you need, a repair, you choose the mechanic, and CarShield's administrators handle the rest of it, okay? That's it. You don't have to deal with paperwork or headaches. You're taken care of. Same goes for your car. It breaks down, you're stuck on the side of the road, boom! Plans through CarShield also include coast-to-coast roadside assistance. Easy for me to say. CarShield administrators are there for you with rental car options and trip reimbursement at no extra cost. Boom, to you. Get coverage today, and you'll lock in your price now, and it will never go up. Do you hear that, Road Dogg listeners? It's never going to go up if you lock it in today. That means as long as you own your car, no matter how old it is, you're protected from the rising cost of parts and repairs for your vehicle. CarShield, it helps you protect mine, Ryan Smiley Katz, and Road Dogg's wallet from expensive car repairs, and they'll do the same for you. Go to carshield.com/podcast to start your plan and lock in your pricing forever. That's right. That's carshield.com/podcast.
Deductible may apply.
All right, so Sean's not at the road on this at this time due to his injury. Was this why Hunter and China were now put with you guys? And are there conversations between all of you of what this could be like if you guys were officially members?
Well, so I don't remember if it was right before Sean's injury, but they had called us aside and said, "Hey, man, what do you think about this?" And we were like, "Yeah, well, whatever. We'll let you know." And then, like, we ran around the corner and did front handsprings. But it was like they came to us, and so we were like, we had an
I
inkling
gotta
that
cut you off
I'm
because
sorry.
you didn't do a front handspring.
No, you're right. I didn't. It was a round off.
Yeah. All right, sorry.
It was a round off, and I stuck the landing. Crap, I forgot.
I know. I just it's, you were so excited. You were playing it cool to their face.
Yes. And so we had an inkling that we were going to be with them. We just didn't really know what. Not long after that, we heard, okay, Sean's out for a while. That's when things really sped up. You know what I mean? That's when it was like, okay, here we go. We bring X-Pac in. We do that. You know what I mean? Let's do the whole deal. And so it was off and running, man. There was an uptick in pay. There was an uptick in seat on the airplane. There was an uptick in the quality of weed I was buying. Anyway.
All right, so Raw is War, February 2nd, 1998, and it's legendary. Cactus Jack versus Chainsaw Charlie takes on each other, even though they're a tag team. And these two crazy bastards who like fighting each other just take it to each other until Cactus puts Charlie into a dumpster, climbs the Titantron, which we just saw, drops an elbow on him, and out of nowhere, you and Billy come out, closing the dumpster. Here you come, sneaking on out.
We saw
and
him.
then there it
We
is.
close the dumpster. We tie them shut. Another interesting story. I'll tell you in a minute about this dumpster. We tied them shut in there. If you're not, if you're just listening, and then we are going to set sail and see if this thing will fly.
Yeah, sending them on a journey, moving it right here, rolling them. Here it goes. Oh, you're taking
This
a
is
running.
a journey into sound. Where are we going to push him? Let's push
So I
him up.
think as an audience, are we thinking it's going to come down the ramp?
Yeah,
obviously?
yeah, for sure. We pointed down the ramp, like we were going to roll it down the ramp and into the ring. Then we walk over to the side. Oh, there's what's over here. Well, let's look over here and see what's over here on this side. Oh, this side's perfect. There's some tables it can crush, that are set up there weirdly with some cords wrapped around.
In a random black,
Yeah,
table.
there's a random black table with a black
Here we go.
tablecloth. Okay, here we go. We're going to push it off now. And it just kind of teeters over the side. No, there were human beings in there. My God, he's got a family. And they do have families. Interesting thing is, Mick was all upset about because they saw the peanuts or whatever, the packing peanuts in there.
Yeah.
Look, you still dove off a thing down into a dumpster, dude. And so, but before they did this, guess who got in that thing and took that ride first?
Who are you going to tell me?
Vince McMahon.
Get out of here.
No way. I'm not getting out of here. I mean, I am in my daughter's house in her daughter's playroom because my Wi-Fi sucks at my house, but I'm not getting out of here.
So
I'm not getting out of
you're
here.
telling me at rehearsals, Vince gets in and just takes the ride off the stage.
Yes.
And then gets out and says, "Hey, not so bad." What does he say?
Yeah. Hey, that's, dude, he's done that so many times. The zip line with Shawn Michaels, the jumping off of stuff onto a crash pad. He's done that so many times to show I'm not asking you to do something that I wouldn't do myself. You can think what you want to about him, man, but he's a man's man, and he's an interesting man. You know what I mean? Yeah, he took that before, but
So this is being sold is huge. I mean, there's concern. You got the locker room clearing out. Sonny's shown crying. There's heels and baby faces together. Everyone's checking on Cactus and Charlie. I mean, this is a big moment on television at this point.
Yeah, and it was treated as such too. Like it literally shut the show down. You know what I mean? And there you see everybody out there, Sergeant Slaughter, the officials, or everybody. And so, and then you see Vince here in a minute, and we're talking to him like, "Look, we're just playing around, man. We didn't mean to hurt nobody."
Do you remember whose idea this was to come up with doing this type of big dumpster thing?
I do not, but for some reason, I want to say that Mick had something to do with it. You know what I mean? Pitching it or something. And I could be wrong about that. But like what I remember most about this part right here was that everybody came out there and kind of surrounded us. And then really started kind of like Bradshaw really reached over the pile and like smacked me in the head. And like some people started kind of getting rough, and it kind of made it like real like nobody was punching anybody in the face or pulling anybody's eyes out, but it was like, hey, there's some shoving and pushing and pie facing going on, and it made it even more legit. And I just remember how like wound up I was at the end of that. I wanted to fight, you know what I mean? Like coming out of a ninja movie.
And those are those moments that as an audience, you want to feel that moment right there was real. And all of a sudden,
yeah. I showed up at a wrestling show. I showed up at a wrestling show and a real catastrophe happened. You know what I mean? A real disaster.
Yeah.
The only thing, and we're going to touch on this in a second because I perused the notes, but the only thing is at the end of this show, they came back. You know what I mean? Right? They rode like, hospital gurney and stuff, and it was just like, oh, and I remember Mick and Terry didn't really care, but Mick was like, oh, it just throws it away, you know what I mean? We're just coming back, and it was, but it all works, man. It doesn't matter. We were probably the only ones felt that,
At this point, you and Hunter and Sean are so tied together. Are you kind of surprised that they haven't pulled the trigger yet?
Yeah, but I think people knew where we were going, so we didn't have to rush. You know what I mean? A lot of the times you go like, oh, we're there. Oh, okay. Well, then what do you do for the next 4 weeks of television? We have to get to a pay-per-view, or what do we do if it's 6 weeks and you got a couple weeks to play before you can get into that serious story for the pay-per-view. So we were just in that mode and having a good time doing it. But yeah, man, we were moving fast.
So it seemed like they wanted to pull the trigger because I think it was on the 9th. Where am I at? I just lost my spot of what I was thinking. On February 9th, they
There you go.
actually introduced yourself as the newest members of DX.
Yeah.
How come this didn't get followed up on? Do you know why it kind of fell apart?
I don't. And I think it all had to do with Sean's injury where, look, you have plans and you have, we make plans and God laughs. You know what I mean? That's the way it is. You book a thing and 9 times out of 10, like, oh, he got hurt. She broke her arm, whatever. You know what I mean? And stuff happens and you got to kind of work on the fly. And I'd also add that a lot of times it comes up better when you're in a crunch. It makes you a little more creative. You got to come up with chicken salad to make out of that chicken crap. And so when he got injured, I think everything kind of went into hyperdrive,
He was active, and you can bet when he arrived from the airport, he was right back at the performance center in that gym and hurling weights quickly. In Poplar Bluff, Springfield, and Cape Girardeau, the Outlaws get wins over the Rhodes Scholars. As you mentioned, they had been broken up on TV. So at that point, if they've broken up on TV, why does the card not get rearranged on the live events? And why are you still wrestling them as a team? Does that get confusing for them as talent trying to create something and get themselves over?
Yeah, I'm sure it does. On a personal level, like they want something to sink their teeth into, and now you broke them up, and they were like, "Oh, that's what we were going to do," and then you put them back together the next week on a live event. But the live events are made up a way in advance, and they're booked way out in advance. So you want to try to change them as little as possible. And also, I don't think using them one more time on a live event loop and using us and getting over. It's not like the main event of the show. You know what I mean? So you didn't change, a title match or anything. It was just a underneath card entertaining match that had some, entertaining stuff in it. And like I said, it was card subject to change. Sometimes that happens, but yeah, I would imagine creatively it would get frustrating being done that way. But look, you get done that way once or twice. You don't get done that way all the time.
I'll just keep pushing, poking, irritating, and building your frustration towards me as I ask these kinds of questions. Does the lack of continuity with TV storylines hurt the live event business?
So I don't think it hurt the live event business. I think America, where it's at, domestically speaking, and we're going to get to overseas, I would imagine, here in a little while. But domestically speaking, like people don't go out as much, especially lately. You know what I mean? They stopped to get so this live event business is hard. But to your question, I don't think it really bothers people that much because I think a lot of people that show up in these towns don't watch, 6 or 7 hours of WWE wrestling every week.
Right.
They just know the circus is coming to town and I'm going to take my kids to see it. And in some of these cities that we go to, they don't have, circus don't happen no more. That ain't no, the Wriggling Brothers is done. And so so WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan, all these guys that travel and do live events, like they're out there, trying to create a business, but it's hard. Like I said, nobody, you talk about 10,000 people in the arena like that. I don't know if that still happens. I hadn't been out there in a while. So it was just a different time,
So I don't generally quote the Observer too much, but I'm curious on this one from the April 29th, 2013 Observer. SmackDown opened in Glasgow. Main event saw Sheamus and Billy Gunn and Road Dogg beat the Shield via DQ. Really telling not only that the Outlaws, who weren't even main eventers very often in their primes, and a dozen years after come back and headline now. The finish saw a DQ when they triple teamed Sheamus. They were about to give Sheamus the triple team powerbomb when the Outlaws jumped into the ring with chairs. Gunn gave Rollins a famouser, Sheamus gave him a brogue kick, and the Shield left. Are you surprised you're in the main event, or do you take what Metlzer is saying as an insult to the crew at the time?
No, I think it was more to his take has been, and I don't know if me and him ever had a run in or if what, but his take has always seemed to be negative towards us a little bit. And look, maybe it is because we were old guys coming back and working with new guys and beating them and stuff. And maybe he's not he's not happy about that. And that's okay. Opinions, they're like a-holes. Everybody's got them and they all stink. But he just, everything you read out of the Observer just seems to have a negative slant. And so it seems like it's somebody in there don't like me and Billy, or they don't like the fact that we're on there stealing spotlight where a younger guy should. And that's a valid point. You know what I mean? If that's your point. But yeah, it just feels like they're always burying us. Cause we were main eventers. You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of dumbfounded me when I read that in the notes that he said like they were more than main eventers back then. Like, okay, Uncle Dave. Billy, what do you remember about like the first time we ever stayed in a hotel room together?
Well, we decided that, hey, let's travel this one time, see how we are out, because we know how we are in the ring. And we know what we're doing. So let's take it outside. Let's see where this relationship can really go.
Yeah.
And that means we're going to stay in the same hotel room. We're going to save a little money. We'll get up. I'll go to the gym and you'll do whatever it is that you do. And we'll see how this works.
Usually I would just walk around the parking lot and smoke a joint.
Yeah. So no. I'm going to stay out here. You go in there. I'll be out here.
Yeah. I would drop you off at the gym sometimes.
So we go in this hotel. We check in. We all go to sleep. Well, one of us goes to sleep. And then the other one, which is me, wakes up in the middle of the night to see his partner being in the air conditioner.
The toilet was so far away. It was like this room was like, it was
if
like
you had to roll on the other side was the bathroom, roll on the other side is the air conditioner.
It was, look, if I rolled the one way to pee, I would have peed on you. So
They
what I
wouldn't
was
send
trying
the humidifier up at the front desk. He was trying to
So that
keep
was
his
our
nose
first
really
and-
dry.
Our first and only rooming together. I went, this might not be a thing. Let's keep it all in the ring.
Hey, and truth be told, and look, I can't tell you how much I love you enough. And that's just a true story. That's just how I feel in my heart. Look, the other day we did a panel, and we played the dating game. And thank God they never got to mine because I couldn't have followed Billy. They asked Billy all these personal questions about me for real. And he literally nailed them all. And I thought, like, I don't know if he was guessing. I don't know if he remembers stuff, but he nailed it all. And I was just like, man, he really does care about me. But I didn't realize that until I was like 10 years sober and we've had some conversations. And I say this often, Billy, me and you grew up together. And I know you and Bart did too, in a way, and you and me did. But Wyatt Earp's my friend. Hell, I got lots of friends, Doc. I don't. You know what I mean? That's where I'm at. I got few friends, and you're one of them.
We went through something, and I tell people this all the time. Like I'm the same. I'm a recovering addict, alcoholic, everything you can imagine. But they ask me, do I have regrets about that? In a sense, no, because what I did then has gotten me to the place that I am today.
Amen.
And I am amazing.
Yeah.
Like I feel if I don't go through that really hard, crappy, ruining everything in my life that I could possibly ruin, because my story isn't that much different than Brian's, because I ruined everything, and it took me just as long to get all those relationships back in order as it did Brian. So I think the stuff that me and you went through, people don't go through.
Yeah.
But we like even through those times, and then when you got sober and I decided to wait a little longer before to do what you did.
You didn't wait too much longer though.
No, but it was never judgment. It was just, hey, if you need me, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm not like he's clean. I'm not gonna coddle you in any way. But if you need me, I'm here. And I feel we've always been there for each other, and we know what each other has gone through, and we're at a point in our lives where I'm so good. Like I can't even say it enough. My life is so good now. But if it wasn't for that, I don't think my life would be as good as it is.
Yeah,
because I know how bad it can be.
God, yeah, that's a victory speech, man. That's a survivor, and because you're right, not everybody goes through that, but
No.
even those that go through it don't have somebody that they really care about go through it with them, and so
Yeah.
that's what's been really cool about our dynamic. But we talked earlier about the dynamic between the tag team, and you're right. We didn't say stuff. We just knew where everybody was going to be and where you were going to be and where I was going to be, and we didn't have to talk a lot. But then we found out, like, oh, we are very different. Maybe you should ride with people that go to the gym a lot, and I'll ride with people that smoke weed and don't go to the gym a lot. And then we'll meet at the building and come up with it, go through our stuff. And so that it went that way for a while. But you fast forward to right now, I could not imagine. I can imagine getting my own room and you getting your own room, but I could not imagine not riding with you now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just couldn't fathom that today.
Yeah, no, me neither. I mean, it's just where we're at. I mean,
Maybe we should
it's
get a
like
room.
when we do stuff together, it's like it's amazing. Like
It's
people,
magic.
we can't get people to get away from us. But that's just us. Like that's what we do. I make fun of him. He makes fun of me. We have fun. We make sure we're such people and want to make sure that it's like it's a New Age Outlaw experience.
Yes.
So
Like-
this is the behavior we would see every weekend if you guys are doing a signing, just seeing
Oh
you
my
guys
God,
interacting
no.
like
Oh,
that.
It's
yes,
100 times, 'cause
yes.
this is kind of like dialed down just because I don't really want to be like out of control on your show.
Yeah.
Like we're even more, and it's a lot of fun because we still want people to never walk away from us going, well, that was a disappointment.
And so we can't be the New Age Outlaws. We can't be what we once were. So it's hard to be what you once were. You know what I mean? Like that. It was very difficult. So I had a lot of concerns, but I also, I was getting paid. You know what I mean? I was getting a weekly paycheck and doing all right and paying my bills. And that's all I was trying to do at this point. Keep enough for the, keep up enough wrestling for my drug habit, and pay the house notes.
I hate to laugh because I know you don't say that in jest.
Yeah.
You say that serious in this
Dead
sense.
serious. And that's why I want to normalize talk like that. Normalize talk about men having anxiety, men having fears. And you know what I mean? That should be normalized. That's what we should be talking about. There's a lot of mental health stuff going on that we're finding out later in life. And even for an old dog like me, you can teach me new tricks and I can learn. If I can learn about this stuff, I can be conscious of it and make moves to try to better myself, and that's, I know you say you don't like to laugh, but it's, with me, it's the truth. It's what I did, man. It's what I did. And while I did all this and I was high all the time, it's not that I'm trying to negate responsibility for any of this, whether creative or professionally or personally. I'm not trying to negate my responsibility for any of this. Everything I did is mine, and I will own that. And I will make the rest of my days trying to make up for that. But thank you for bringing up. It's not all bad. I got some good promos down there.
All right. What were some of the reasons for your unhappiness towards WWE? Obviously, they released you, but were there specific things that you felt you were unjustly treated, that you were unjustly treated or wrongfully accused is the wrong word, but like,
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And the truth be told, Ryan, is it would be sexier if I told you, yeah, they did this to me and they did that to me. What they did for me was they provided a great living for my family, and you know what I mean? They always took care of me at every stop, at every problem, around every corner. I was a drama king because I was on drugs, and they took care of me a great deal. And then I became a liability, and so they were like, "Okay, gotta let you go." I have no idea what I'm talking about right now, Ryan.
hey,
Bring me back.
no, you're exactly where we need to be because this is what we want to hear. I mean, this is a difficult time in your life and you're going through changes. And now you're in this storyline where you're going to just start poking the bear, pushing buttons, getting under the skin of people that were your friends, are your associates, former bosses. I mean, through anything, you're in the business. You always hear don't burn bridges, but like
Yeah.
you guys are throwing gasoline voluntarily at this point.
We're trying to burn that son of a gun down as hard as we can. And look, they did nothing wrong to me. It would be, like I was saying earlier, sexy if they had of. That they didn't do it. This was all of my own doing. You know what I mean? This was me and my addiction and my lack of coping skills, and I didn't know how to live life. I went through life like a hurricane with horns. You know what I mean? So I was destructive and destroying every relationship, both personal and professional, I had at this period of time. Yes, there were some good times of wrestling in between there, but this was a bad time for me, you know?
Were there any other names in mind, or was it always going to be a VKM reference trying to throw the Vitz shot?
No, it was going to be VKM for sure. And me and one of my children, I sat in my recliner, and one of my children sat on the computer, and I said, look up all the words that start with V. And then I thought, like, oh, voodoo's cool. And then I thought, well, voodoo kin is like, if he's going to be Kip James, like, we're not really kin. So it's like kabuki, you know, kins. Okay, voodoo kin. Okay. And then the mafia it just seemed to fit. So we came up with Voodoo Kin Mafia, and Russo liked it. I mean, I came up with that, and Russo liked it. And then we got, of course, down the road, we got Roxy Laveau. That was, you know, played off of the Madame Laveau or Laveau or whatever her name is in New Orleans and all that. So, yeah, you know, it was all over the place. And because I really didn't know what we were doing, you know, from a character standpoint, it wasn't something that we could take and evolve. It was either going to end drastically or nothing. You know what I mean? It's probably just going to end drastically. And that's what people, like, at the end, were like, oh, you knew they weren't going to do anything. Well, you know, we tried to get their attention, and we tried hard. You're going to find out as we keep going.
Absolutely, we will. As you guys are doing this, what's going on WWE TV is Shawn and Triple H are putting DX back together. Did this piss you and Billy off a little bit? That was kind of your thing?
Well, look, to be honest, yes, it did. But I want to be perfectly clear. It pissed off a couple of guys that were in active addiction. It was a couple of guys that's egos gotten out of control, and we thought we were bigger than the business. And we thought you know, how dare they fire us? And look, it's once you come out of that fog, that is, you know, drug addiction, and you kind of clear your mind and start thinking about your part in all this. Like, what did I do? Man, I did it all. They didn't do anything. I did it all. And Billy's the same way. So we've grown up, you know what I mean? And we realized at the time, those feelings were real. And I would have fought either one of them if they'd have showed up somewhere. I mean, but I fight my brothers too on Thanksgiving, but that's just how we roll. And so I would have fought them at the time. Like, now I think about that and go like, man, what a piece of crap I am. You know what I mean? Like, what a bad person. Like, that's not
but is that fair to say that it's all the addiction? And can't you actually have the ego to say, hey, I know that you were wronged, but you could still feel anger, frustration, disappointment, resentment, you know, based on the situation. You were on top of the world. It was
I felt all of those things you just named. I really did. But again, I think they were wasted emotions because they weren't coming from a balanced place. You know what I mean? So look, I do take the blame for a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't take the blame for, but I believe in holding up my end of the deal. I believe in my personal responsibility. I got to do what I got to do, you know? And that's what we were doing here. Me and Billy, they put us together. Now here we go with the Dudleys. We do a little deal. Now we're going to try to get Shawn and Hunter to meet us at the Alamo. Like, the whole thing really is just sticks, you know, to different sketch comedy things and having a good time. But also, like, if they come out here, you know what I mean? Or if I would have fought either one of them. And now I wouldn't fight either one of them to save my life. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how I look at them both now. 180-degree difference than how I looked at them both then.
growth and evolution, growth and evolution, growth and evolution.
I could have worked with anybody. It would have been the cruiserweights. I would have just been their base for everything, except for if it was a moonsault off a cage, and I'm not catching you. That's for those of you that know.
Oh wait, I'm gonna bring something up here.
For
You just
those
say
of
that.
you that know, you're
remember a
welcome.
I remember a moment that you had to catch Cody. I think you and Billy had to catch Cody Rhodes off the top of a cage, and I don't think you guys caught him.
Nope.
And Dusty was pissed.
Yes, Dusty was pissed. Dusty said something. Look, I told there's a long story behind that, and I'm not going to get into it now. But I told him, I'm not going to catch you like we're, you know what I mean, in a 69. Like, I'm not going to catch you like that perfectly. I probably shouldn't have said that, but anyway. And he said, all I need you to do is stick your arm out there. And I said, I'll do that. And really they cut to a different camera. It like looked great. But yeah, Dusty was pissed. And I mean, and when I went to NXT, not long after that, he apologized to me. And that's the truth. Dusty said, hey man, it's my baby boy. And I said, Dusty, you don't have to apologize to me. I totally understand.
Uncle guys know they're working with the prince.
Yeah, you're working with the prince, baby. And I knew I was, and that's, you know, that's what it is. And so I had no problem with Dusty wanting to protect his child and being interested in his child's safety. You know what I mean? Like when you get right down to it, it's okay, Dusty. I appreciate you loving me. You know what I mean? Enough to talk to me and let's have this conversation. So yeah, that was cool.
All right. Right after this at the DX pay-per-view, you and Billy defend the tag titles again against LOD, and you retain after a DQ when Hawk uses Henry Godwin's slot bucket and attacks you both. It makes you laugh thinking about it.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. I loved Henry Godwin. I still do. I saw him at WrestleCon a week or two ago, and man, saw him and Phineas, Pig. What great guys. So yeah, I always loved working around and with them. But yeah, he hit us with a I think he hit me, or he hit me so hard I don't remember. But hit one of us with a slot bucket. They got DQ'd. We hold on to the titles. To me, and we were heels at the time. Like once we joined DX, things happened, and we moved over to the babyface category. But we were heels at the time, and so to scoop that up and to run out of there and to I forgot what we were talking about. Tell you the truth, Ryan,
That's all right. We're talking slot bucket and all.
Slot bucket. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, slot bucket. Remember, he hit me real hard. So it's bong resin, chair shots, and slot buckets. But yeah, so I liked, how do you protect your guys, your big baby faces that are the Road Warriors? You know what I mean? You have them go so physically crazy that that they get disqualified.
They're not in control of themselves.
Right. And people can understand that. You ever got so mad and done something you wish you hadn't? Well, that's what that kind of finish tells me. Like Hawk's so mad, he didn't care what happened. He wanted to kill us. You know what I mean? And that protects them, and we keep the titles. And so but people always get into those are philosophical and psychological arguments that really don't have any place because it's pro wrestling. You know what I mean? Again, we're the masters of our own destiny. We can do whatever we want to do. So what are we going to do, and how are we going to do it? You know what I mean?
You continue on the loop at the Nassau Coliseum, and then in Raleigh, you still continue with wins over Rhodes Scholars. Do you think the WWE was undervaluing Cody and Damien Sandow at this time?
I don't know. I don't know. Look, I was again a part of creative and a producer and wrestling at this time. I don't think Cody, and I think Cody would be okay with me saying this, and I think he'd agree with me. He wasn't ready to be where he is today at that point. That's for dang sure. Damien Sandow, I felt like, was a great wrestler and could do anything you ask him to do and complete it successfully and execute it in a way where you go like, okay, great. That was great. Thank you. I thought he was best, and I don't mean anything by this negatively, but I thought he was best when he was Mizdow.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so I thought, I don't know, Cody wasn't ready, and neither was he. So I don't think they were undervaluing him. I just thought look, they had a good little thing together. Then they split them up, and Cody did his thing, which I thought was good too, by the way. But yeah, look, I loved working with those guys. They're both great workers. They were just young in this, and we were the old vets, you know what I mean? So we were trying to have just good matches, and we did. We had really good matches with them.
Like, yeah, you're having these great matches at the live events. Was there any talk of bringing it to television?
No, there wasn't. And the reason being was they were breaking those guys up on television. So they didn't think about us having a, I think we did work with them. We ended up working with them one time, I thought, on TV, but that may have been a live event also. Remember the chair shots and bong resin. Got me a little cloudy.
All right, you guys come off the road, and then you do a segment in NXT with a DX and Click reunion type that included Kevin Nash. Damien Sandow interrupts it, and it ends with Shawn Michaels hitting him with a super kick. Next question is from a perspective I've seen a lot of fans write in their opinions. Do you think that WWE putting legends over the younger talent was something that hurt the younger talent?
So, yes, I think the short answer is yes, but I don't think it's as cut and dry as that. I don't think it's as black and white as that. It's there's so many variables, and again, I will say this until the end of time. It is subjective, not objective. We are the masters of our own destiny. We can do whatever we want to. It's pro wrestling. It is not a science. It is not, you will not come up with an answer at the end of a math equation and go, ha, good wrestling. Like, it is whatever you want it to be. And so we can do whatever we want to do. And I got off on my high horse, and I totally forgot what your question was.
No, you're on the same track, and you answered it with honesty and clarity. So you guys are put back on the road when John Cena comes off. How did these conversations go? You mentioned Michael Hayes kind of wanted to put you on select cities at that point. How does this work out?
Yeah, well, that's when John had something to do. And so we weren't on those shows. Michael reached out to me, said, hey, I'm going to call Billy next. Will you guys do these? So it was all, very kid gloves. We were handled with kid gloves on this run, and I appreciated that because I was wearing a lot of hats, and so was Billy. You know, Billy, we would fly for Raw or something, and Billy'd fly back down the next day and have to go straight to the PC to coach. So we both had our hands full, that's for sure. So let's ring the bell.
Through the confidence, there had to be some concerns. What worried you? Was it about timing and making sure everyone hit their times, or was there anything else that you were potentially worried about making sure it would run smoothly?
So, look, time was of the essence. I think we went off the air right at 3 hours or right under 3 hours, and
Which
that
is
was
awesome.
that was our goal. We had more pay-per-view time, but we did not want to use it because I think I think a 3 hour show is too long. But we had a lot of matches and we got it in 3 or under. So I think we did that. But that was my biggest concern, was I didn't want to go heavy and make everybody wait too long to see Rick. And because I do feel like even though all those talents showed up and busted their humps and had great matches and put together a great show for us, I'm not talking any less about them, but it was about Ric Flair. Yeah. And so we wanted to make sure we had time enough for Ric Flair, and not at the end of a long, drawn-out pay-per-view. Oh, now here's Ric Flair. Bing, bang, boom, Bob's your uncle. Dun, dun, dun. Da-da. You know what I mean? Get there and give me what I came for. And so, yeah, that was my biggest concern, and it turned out it wasn't a concern at all, man. We timed it out a way, and we nailed it. We nailed it in a way that WWE doesn't nail it all the time. So man, it was an awesome experience. It was behind the curtain as well.
It was fun being between you and Scott, discussing the times, like, we're one light, we're one heavy, it's evening out, we're doing well.
And we were, man, and it was like he kept looking at me like, we're right on time, you know what I mean? And I was thinking, there's no way. But man, it worked out that way. Like I said earlier, man, something special about that night.
Was there any segment that you knew would have to be cleaned up day of show?
The the Frank the Clown thing came together, and there were a lot of changes to that as far as talent and who and where and when. Some was booked, some got canceled. Who's going to do it? Some Hammerstone, bless his heart, was coming out and going to do that spot for us, but he got delayed and he couldn't make it to Nashville in time. So hopefully we will see him in the future as well, and thank him for trying. But yeah, a lot of changes went into that particular segment. It was on the pre-show, but it was the only thing I felt a little less control over. And we orchestrated and put it together exactly how we wanted to, but I just felt a little out of control of that one. And maybe it was Frank the Clown, and maybe his inexperience, or I don't know him that well. I don't know. He did great. He really did. He did great. As soon as promo, he said,
yeah, we'll get to that later. I could probably get to it. He said, we'll get to it on the match breakdown.
Like, I hope Ric Flair dies. And I said, hit Fatu's music. I said, that's all he needed to say to see me wanted to get his head kicked off.
Yeah. Day of show is here, and the atmosphere behind the scenes is hectic, as there's a lot to get done, a lot of variables, and not a lot of time. On a WWE pay-per-view, the crew usually has about 6 to 8 hours from call time to show time to make everything happen creatively. On this show, we had about 3 hours or so. Were you stressing?
Yes, I was. But I knew that if we could talk about a color scheme, talk about lighting, talk about what Ric Flair's entrance looked like, Jeff had a good idea what he wanted his, and we could just throw everything at the rest of them. You know what I mean? A lot of that, we had made video packages or received video packages from a lot of the independent companies, and so we could play their video package or whatever while or their entrance, video walls. But I knew that we could just throw lights and lasers and everything else at everybody else's, because look, normally I walk through every entrance on the show. With 3 hours, not even really. Doors were at 3:30, and we got out of the production meeting about 1:30. So really, we had about 2 hours to try to do everything, and I knew right then it wasn't realistic. So I thought, prioritize, compartmentalize. What do we need to get right? And man, it came together, and we got it right. And it seemed like Josh Smirnoff, the guy who made the vodka, made all the Titantrons. What's his last name? Chernoff. My bad. That's me.
Not Smirnoff.
I'm a recovering alcoholic. I apologize. Josh Chernoff. Josh Chernoff. That's a mouthful.
Speaking of mouthfuls.
So apparently he made all the Titantrons, and a lot of the lower third graphics and stuff like that. So look, he's another one of the unsung heroes that I wanted to mention today on this episode called Unsung Heroes.
Some changes had to be made right away as travel issues caused a cancellation, and other delays led to switching of the match order. Do things like this always happen on big events where you got to make some shifts and changes?
So look, not normally, especially not normally on an event this size, of this magnitude. But what couldn't be helped is the weather, and the weather was the reason for the only hiccups that we had as far as travel and reordering the show. Now look, we reordered the show a couple of times, you and I and Conrad just kicking it around. But of course, this day of decision, and that's what was great about this. I was literally signing autographs and taking pictures in the day, and then jumping through hoops on text threads like, oh, they can't make it, so get so-and-so here. What if we use so-and-so? And so a lot of that stuff, the Diamond Dallas Page thing came along at about 2:00 in the afternoon on Sunday. so things were changing up until day of, and then some. But look, that's you learn to roll with the punches and control kind of what you can control, and the rest of it is out of your control. Now look, I think I said it a million times, and I'll say it again. I showed up with the attitude that I'm going to do everything I can. I believe everybody else showed up with that same attitude, man.
So just before the pre-show is getting ready to start, Sim Bodie, one of the producers on the card, comes up to me and says, have you seen the AAA guys? I come to you and explain that they haven't shown up yet. What goes through your head at that moment that we don't even have a match here right now?
So look.
You're like, cut it.
To be totally honest, I think that's what I said first. Was cut it. We got too many matches anyway. However, I am so thankful, I was, I didn't cut it, and we did find them, and we just weren't looking in the right place. They were there, and we weren't aware of it. So we thought they hadn't showed up yet. Turns out they were there and just not where we were looking. They showed up and showed out, man. Couldn't be thankful enough for AAA, letting us have those 4 guys. And bro, did they put on a performance, man. That Ray Phoenix is something to behold. But he was the best, but holy mackerel, the other 3 were just as good. It's crazy. That Taurus, whoever that guy is.
Taurus was wild.
Hey, he worked that entire match with that thing on his face,
and he saved Bandito.
Saved Bandito's life
breaking
one
his
time.
neck. Yep.
Yeah.
Bandito went for the somersault plancha. He caught him
in a
almost
tombstone.
landed on his head. Caught him in that, and then brought him up for the sunset over. And it was amazing, spectacular.
To the code red. It was. Look, some amazing stuff in there. And again, so thankful for AAA for loaning us those 4 talent. Those 4 talent were incredible, and we thank you guys for sharing them with us.
Pre-show starts